What is forgiveness? You all know by now that I grew up in a congregational church where I learned to recite the Lord's Prayer, a prayer I'm sure many of us learned. This particular line, well, many of them I didn't understand, but this one I really didn't know what it meant. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Or if it were translated as forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, I really didn't know what that meant. As far as I knew as a child, I didn't owe anyone money and no one owed me money. In current English usage, the word trespass is applied to land boundaries, no trespassing. If someone trespasses on my property, they've crossed my property boundary without my permission. If I think they did it on purpose, my emotional reaction is to feel angry. How dare they? And if they don't apologize for what I perceive to be their bad behavior, now I have a resentment and I'm waiting around for them to own up to what they did. I might be waiting a very long time, especially if they did not even see the boundary sign. In addition to the boundary around our living space, our property, we also have a boundary around our body. As a child in the 60s, the concept of personal boundaries was not, as we say now, a thing. It was just not a phrase that was used. We certainly still had boundaries and feelings about them, just no language to describe them. But today, the teachers at my great niece's daycare have the kids learning a song. I don't know the melody and I probably don't have the lyrics totally right, but the basic message is, please stop what you're doing to me. Don't take it personally. It's just my boundary. So these are, 4-year-olds learning this song, 3-year-olds learning this song. You might have noticed that the aura extends about 3 feet all around the body, about arm's length. So when someone is within these 3 feet, you might describe it as feeling like they are in your space. This is your energetic boundary, and your sovereign right as a human being is to have it respected. When people don't make eye contact on a crowded subway, all they're doing is trying to protect their energetic boundaries when the situation is violating their physical boundaries. But most people don't get mad on the subway because they don't perceive that the intention behind this violation is purposeful. It's when we perceive that someone has disrespected our boundary on purpose that we get mad. And if they don't apologize, then we have every right to nurse a resentment, so we believe. We also have psychological boundaries. These might be harder to define, but you probably notice this boundary when you have a feeling that someone has somehow gone too far. Maybe they've shared too much personal information for the type of relationship you have, TMI. Maybe they have made comments about you that feel much too personal. Maybe they have expected more from you than you are prepared to give. You might feel annoyed that they are not noticing that you have your own priorities. You can think of a lot of such examples. Children need to be taught respect for boundaries, physical and psychological, their own and those of other people. This goes for animal children as well. You've probably observed adult animals teaching their offspring to respect boundaries with little nips and vocal commands. It's a process of learning mutual respect. So, like John was saying, that respect also includes self-respect. In a healthy human system where everyone's needs are respected, it certainly happens all the time that if I, for example, set a boundary around how much time I have to help you, you might not like that. But if you are respecting me, you will not push me to do something I know isn't good for me. And if you are respecting yourself, you will find help from someone else who is a willing collaborator. I have a very strong conviction that if someone is truly following what is the kindest thing they can do for themselves, then ultimately it is also best for everyone affected, no matter how they might feel about it in the moment. So when Yeshua says, forgive people for trespassing, what he means is let go of your resentments towards the behavior of other people that you perceive has crossed your boundaries. He famously modeled this teaching on the cross. Forgive them, Abba. They don't know what they're doing. It might have looked like they were engaged in purposeful action, but they were not really fully aware. They were just going along with orders, going along with the crowd, going along with public opinion, being afraid to contradict the will of those in power. On a mystical level, they were fulfilling roles that were necessary for the enactment of the resurrection. They indeed truly had no understanding of what they were doing. Yeshua modeled the key to letting go of resentments. The key is when someone has taken a harmful action, even if it looks like they know what they're doing, they are not really fully aware. If they were in full awareness of their true nature, an aspect of the one unified child of God, they would not try to harm anyone. Once we understand that, until we work on self-awareness, most of us are not all that conscious of our motivations. This is becoming easier to let go. Then it becomes easier to let go of resentments. Let me say that again. When we work on self-awareness, we realize we have not really been all that conscious of our motivations. That helps us become better at letting go of resentments towards other people because we realize they're not so aware of their motivations either. Like Mayim was saying, we're all doing our best, and we're just doing our best with the level of awareness that we have. Resentments are very dangerous. If we hold on to them, then we might justify our own harmful actions. Deb referred to this. You've likely heard the definition of resentment. It's used in the 12-step recovery programs, taking poison and expecting the other person to feel the effects. Sure, we might gain a sense of self-righteous power, but we're poisoning ourselves. That's why the 12-step programs place such a huge emphasis on letting go of every single resentment. Even the smallest one only serves to reinforce our belief that we're a small, disconnected self that requires defense. Resentments prevent our spiritual growth. Getting back to that alternative translation, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, I have come to understand that this means forgive our expectation that other people owe us anything, not just money. I would say the biggest debt ledger we hold other people to is unmet emotional expectations. Again, the key to letting this go is the understanding that they are not fully aware of themselves, so they are not aware of their emotional limitations. This applies to ourselves as well. We certainly have our moments of realizing we were not aware that our not very alert consciousness has had a hurtful effect on someone. This process of letting go of our disappointment in ourselves for missing the mark is what we call making amends. I realize I did something that hurt you, and I now commit to making it up to you. Imagine a world in which people do this forgiveness housekeeping on a daily basis. Well, we're getting there. I'm going to conclude these remarks with some words of Yeshua that he gave me to speak a couple of years ago in response to a woman who had asked about how to forgive world leaders. He says, remember that every soul is an aspect of the one child of God. If one soul has taken action based in fear, it is no different than any action based in fear that any soul has taken. Remember that the one child of God has a deep desire for knowing itself in all aspects, every possible way of manifesting creation. This has taken some dark turns as the one child of God explores all the different possible ways of being a creator. To forgive someone, start with knowing that any soul that has taken action that appears to be hurtful is a part of yourself with a capital S. Once you know that they are a part of yourself, then surround them with the love you know you have in your heart. I have asked you to bring the leaders of the political world, many of whom are caught in fear, into this circle of love. By bringing them in, you help them each catch even momentary glimpses of the truth, which is that they are one with all of humanity. Some leaders have a confusion about power, which the ego has always had. The ego perceives power as the ability to make things happen on the earth, to move materials around, to move other human beings around, to be the puppet master. But if you hold them as separated from yourself, those people who did bad things, you keep yourself separated at the same time. If you hold those souls in resentment, you entrap yourselves as well as them. Maintaining anger towards souls who have fallen prey to the attraction of worldly power only keeps you entrapped. It is only when you see souls who have caused harm as separate that you can be afraid of them or angry at them. When you understand, as I did in the desert, that I am one with everything, every soul, every molecule, every beam of light, then there is no harm. So welcome every soul who appears to have caused harm into this brilliant circle of white light that is the love of God. I have shared with you before that the reason the ego has gone through the depths of despair is so that when you return home, there's no place left that you might go that God might still yet find unacceptable. You have all gone through hell. This is so that you are sure that when you come home, God has forgiven everything. And I assure you, every hellacious thought and action has already been forgiven. Because in the mind of God, these things cannot exist. So there's nothing to forgive. And so it is. And amen.